Hi, ladies. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having us, Maya. Good to see you.
Good to
Hi,
see you too.
Leah.
Good to see both of you, Alex and Sam. Um, I'm very happy to have you here today. We have a Sister Act episode where I'm going to be putting the spotlight on both of you, two sisters. You're both very well known in the criminal law world. Sam, you're a criminal defense lawyer. You've been practicing for a few years now. And Alex, a baby. Paralegal, your
Legal.
license finally, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Still
you.
new, but also doing a lot. And you actually were also having a lot of impact even before you were licensed. So you two are two superpower sisters. And that's why I'm very happy to have both of you today here for this interview to put the spotlight on you and to show how inspiring both of you are. So we have a lot that we want to talk about, but the first thing that I want to start with is an introduction. I know a lot of people know who you are, but just for people who are not lawyers or who are not in the legal world, who are watching this, if you can each introduce yourselves. Sam.
Well, I'll go first since I'm the firstborn.
Yes.
My name's Sam Puchala. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I've been practicing. I was called to the bar in 2019. I established Velex Law Professional Corporation, La Société Professionnelle Droit Velex. It's a bilingual, exclusively criminal defense practice. I'm based in London and have a second office in Woodstock that has now quickly become my main office. That's where I'm primarily practicing now. I exclusively practice in criminal defense. I'm like a firecracker, bold, tenacious motorcycle riding lawyer, and I've done a lot of leadership. I was the regional women's director of the Criminal Lawyers Association. I've been really involved, and I love, love, love what I do. So I'm really excited to be here, particularly with my sister Alex.
So, Alex, tell
Hi,
us
I'm
about yourself.
I'm Alex. I'm the baby paralegal. I'm Sam's sister. There's a 10-year difference between her and I. And then I also have a twin sister. We live kind of separate lives and we're in different chapters of our careers. And I take a lot of inspiration from my older sister, who I kind of grew up alongside with. And I've taken a lot of inspiration from her in terms of what I want to do in my career and where I want to be, and mostly because of reverse psychology. So Sam is a lawyer who does what she wants when she wants to, and that really goes far along for clients, if you know what I mean. And so I learned a lot from Sam because my mom would grow up telling me, don't be like Sam, be smarter, stay in school, be complacent, be polite. And then now I look at what Sam really does and like all I want to do is whatever Sam does, because that really the impact that she has not only in leadership but for women and in criminal law means a lot to me, and it's really great to see, and it's nice to be related to greatness but also grow and be inspired by greatness.
Well, you're both great in what you're doing, and it's very nice. And I'm just out of curiosity, does your mom still tell you not to do what Sam's doing, or did she change
I,
her mind?
I, I was clearly the rebellious one growing up. Yeah, it's funny because it is like we're very different. We have a lot of similarities, but we're very different too. So a lot of people don't know that we're related, right? Because we have different
Yes.
last names. So we share a mother, and we were raised together. And actually, Woodstock is our hometown. We were raised in Woodstock. We have different dads, but I've always considered Alex and her twin Georgia my sisters. We're very close, and Georgia actually has helped me with a lot of design and my branding. So it's a bit of a family affair too, because
Yeah.
my our mom, so Alex, like our mom is a CPA, so she helps me with a lot of the financial stuff, and we have a lot of fun actually. So anyway, I'm excited to get into it. But yes, I will reserve my mom's right to silence on whether which I actually be curious as to what mom says now about uh, don't be like Sam or whatever. But that was certainly back
Yeah.
in my rebellious days.
Well, but that's the thing. And I mean, I'm sure your mom must be super proud of both of you and what you're doing because you're both really killing it in criminal law. And I'm connected to both of you through social media, so I know and I'm very much aware of your successes. And so that's what we want to talk about here today and how you got there. So maybe let's start with Sam because Sam is also the inspiration for Alex. So, Sam, how did you get into criminal law?
So I originally so my undergraduate degree is in political science and sociolinguistics. So I studied in études françaises at Université Laurentienne. So I studied in French and actually did my law school in French. But at the time, I was more interested in sort of politics and student politics and maybe lobbying. So I took a criminal, and I think I mentioned this when you first interviewed me when I first set up my practice. But I took an introduction to criminal law course as an elective, and I ended up declaring a minor in law and justice. And I fell in love. I loved criminal law so much that I knew by the time that I graduated that I would go to law school. But even when I went to law school, my intention there was to get the JD, the Juris Doctor, the law degree, and to use that sort of again in a career that was not necessarily in the practice of law. But the first day of law school when I got there, I knew that I would be a criminal defense lawyer, and the rest is history. I looked up different organizations, and I eventually became, a leader as a student, but also within the practice. So I've been practicing now almost 7 years. This summer will make 7 years that I've been practicing, and I know that a lot of people think that I've practiced even longer because I did just like Alex. She's really followed my example of getting involved early, right? So even
That's
before
right.
getting, because
Yeah.
actually Alex is a brand new paralegal. We were actually just in Toronto celebrating at Osgoode Hall a historical first celebration of the paralegals.
Yeah.
Justice Brock Jones was there and delivered
Mhm.
the keynote address. And so, yes, our mother's very proud. We were in the verge of tears. And she told me, she said, all a mother wants is for her children to be happy. And she said, Alex is so happy. And that makes me so happy that she, is enjoying what she's doing. And I'm not at all surprised that she ended up here because I actually called, it was a call to arms. I said, sis, I'm opening, I established the Woodstock office very quickly after opening my business, which was a very ballsy, move. It
In
started.
London, right? Because you're originally based in London, Ontario, and then you opened the Woodstock office, correct?
Yes. So there's been a lot that's happened in the last 3 years since you interviewed me because so we both live in London, Alex and I, and our mom does too, and her other sister. So it's fun, being close. But our roots come from Woodstock, and when I told her that I was gonna open an office there, I said, "Would you come? Would you come and help me establish this office? Because I can't do it alone." And she said, "Yes, I'm there." And she just dutifully every day showed up. And I wasn't surprised that, like, I'm not surprised that Alex has ended up where she is because she's such a hard worker.
Yeah.
She has that grit and that drive that clearly I have. So I do think that we get that from our mom. And also just like the warrior woman spirit, right? But we used to talk at the dinner table about politics, and Alex also did a moot, so I was into mooting and sort of model or like a model parliament, and so she sort of followed in my footsteps for that. And I remember when the Sullivan and Chan case came out and all the
Yes.
controversy that caused. I
Oh.
remember Alex came to me and she was like looking. This is well before she even thought about going into law. And she was like looking into all of this and all the misconceptions that people had about what that case represented. Because a lot of people, it reinvigorated sort of controversial notions in sexual assault, whereas those two
Mhm.
cases had nothing to do with sexual assault. So Alex was very interested in that. And I was talking to her about it and she was trying to dispel myths with her colleagues and friends who weren't wrapping their head around this. And she said, I'm buzzing. And I knew right there, I was like, this is a future legal mind, right?
Yeah.
So many years later, when I called her and I said, would you come and help me establish this office? She was right there. And certainly, I tell people now because she's working with a colleague of mine, Kelly Mercer, a very well-respected lawyer, a ferocious, fierce advocate.
Yes.
And I told her, if you can handle 4 months with me, you can do things, or what 8 months, like, time flies when you're having fun. But she really showed up and helped me establish that office. And that experience, I think, was also very seminal in her wanting to pursue criminal law. So I'm excited because it's not for everyone, right? And
Totally. And this is why, I mean, that's why I wanted to ask Alex how she was inspired by what you were doing. Because as you mentioned, Sam, criminal law is not for everyone. And there are some people who are maybe interested in hearing some of the stories, but not necessarily getting into practicing criminal. But Alex, no, it seems like you were not just interested, you really wanted to get into this area and practice in it. So tell us a bit more about your side here.
My a lot of like the dinner conversations that we would have started off in politics too. And so like where I really started out was is that I didn't know what to do, what I wanted to study. And I looked to Sam. I was like, what did you do in your high school career that helped set you on a path that you wanted to be on? And so Sam recommended like getting out, getting involved, meeting people, going to networking. And I'm a very shy person, like maybe 5 years ago. Now I'm like out and about. I like to
Yeah.
meet people. My eye contact's not that good, but I'm happy to meet new people and like talk about the law and talk about politics, but in a nonpartisan way. So I did the same things like model parliaments. I did one in high school and then I reconvened back in university. I just kept engaged with things that were interesting to me, not just because of being inspired by Sam, but finding those niche topics that were under the bigger umbrella of like the topics that Sam and I share interest in, but then finding my own niches and chapters that I really gravitate towards. So we're under this same bubble of interest, but like Sam does like a very specific, very focused practice, whereas I'm like in the paralegal scope and that's limited. But it's the things that I want to do are related to things I'm very interested in. So like the driving offenses, the criminal driving offenses, things like that. So like we're like in the sphere, but like not doing the exact same thing, but we can like still like meet each other and still work and talk about things that we're passionate about. And I think that kind of brings us closer because there's a huge age gap. Well, not that huge, it's age, but there's 10 years between us. So how do you get along with a sibling other than just talking about your interests, right? So I think the law brings us together. The politics brings our whole family together because those are really fun
Well, it's
conversations.
nice that politics bring your family together because
Yeah.
sometimes they're dividing families. So that's actually a nice thing in your
Although it
family.
unifies us, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice because it's not the case for every family, I can say. But okay. Um, so you were inspired by what she was doing. Like, first of all, just out of curiosity, are you still helping her in her Woodstock office? Because it seems like that's how you first started. It's by helping her a lot with her second office that she opened very early on in her career. Are you still working with her in Woodstock, or are you too busy right now that you're just focusing on your work, your paralegal work right now?
When I was working with Sam, so I don't currently work with her, but
Yeah,
when I had like freshly quit like one of my bar jobs that I was working. I just like, after university, what can you do alongside trying to build a career? Work a part-time job at a bar, at a
yeah,
cafe. So I had quit that job, worked with Sam for about I think 8, 9 months, and then I was so interested in what the cases were like, the clients, how to better service the community. I learned about access to justice and what barriers there are, how to get more involved, and what had happened after that is that I started paralegal school, and then I fell in love with what all the things that the paralegals do, and I,
yeah.
I got out more in networking, and so now I found my place with Kelly Mercero's office in St. Thomas. So I don't work with Sam anymore, but I've taken what I've learned from her alongside my paralegal program and kind of like, diverted that path, but it's still like parallel in the same direction. So I don't work with Sam anymore, but, and I miss her very dearly. I miss working with you, but also I now get to experience a lot more um, at a different office. And I've gotten to work with paralegals. I did my internship in about 10 months with a paralegal firm, which was also owned by a very strong woman and like female owned corp. And she like
Yeah.
covered all of Ontario. So I've really like stuck with my roots in that sense where I can still see strong women like Sam, but in like different areas of law. So I kind of still um, like see mirrors of Sam and other people, and that's what I gravitate towards.
And
Are you,
it was
yeah.
really like a transitional, like I got her foot in the door, right? And then it was when she decided that she wanted to go to paralegal school, I encouraged her to do that. And I said, that's great, right? Like you've given me the help and I've given you the experience. Now go and get it, right? So it was really great because also, it's like we have like our family sort of like business, wider business, and we talk a lot of business, finance, politics certainly, and there's a lot of beauty in that, like design, marketing. So I have my family very like involved with that, and it's been a lot of fun. But I was also like, go spread your wings, right? Like it's, I'm very flattered, obviously, that Alex had such a good time working with me, but also it's just like I want you to go and get that experience, see how other practitioners are working, go and look at what the paralegals are doing, because I do have a very specific and niche practice. So as Alex was alluding to, I'm primarily and almost exclusively defending high stakes offenses against the person. So I don't like I refer all DUI calls out. drugs and like that kind of stuff. So I'm very focused in sexual assaults, domestics, and I think it's good, especially as a paralegal, to go and get that wider experience. And she did end up back here in criminal law, but Alex is just starting her career, so there's lots of opportunity for her, and I'm excited to see all the great big things that she does.
And so tell us a bit more about the whole family dynamic. So not everybody in the family is involved in criminal law, right? If I understand this correctly, it's only you, Sam, and Alex. Uh, Mom is an accountant, chartered accountant, and then your sister, your twin sister, Alex, you said is more into marketing, I think you said, and branding. But what about the rest of the family? Do they think that, well, these are the two crazy sisters in criminal law, or are they excited to see you? Because I'm sure you have the most interesting stories to talk about when there are family reunions. So I'm just curious to see what is the rest of the family dynamic with the criminal lawyers and paralegal.
Well, yeah, like I'll let Alex speak to this too because I'd be curious like what she hears on her end. But so yeah, I'm the sort of founding like voice in criminal law. So there's nobody else in the family that was involved in law prior to me. So I'm first generation Canadian, first generation lawyer. And there's a lot of families where you'll have like a parent and then their
That's
child.
correct. Yeah.
Right, but here it's cool because we have like, me coming into it, right, from nothing and then inspiring my younger sister to
Yeah.
pursue a similar journey. But also like my mom apparently says that when she was in school, so our mom is from Hungary and immigrated to Canada in the late 80s, but when my mom was telling me that she's not surprised that I ended up in law because of my rebellious streak. I think it's a very well suited
In
career.
law or in criminal law specifically?
Well, I think in criminal law
Yeah.
because the it's very well suited to my personality. So I've
Hmm.
talked about this before, but I'm like punk rock, I'm against the grain. I'm always, the presumption of innocence and freedom fighting. Like I'm literally paid to fight the state. Like it's, my mom was like, "This is a phase, you'll grow out of it." I was like, "Punk rock's not a phase, mom." And like so now it's like I've evolved, but it's still very core, like all of my core principles that probably drove her nuts when I was a teenager have now really benefited me in terms of advocacy in the courtroom. So, but she said that when she was doing competency tests in school, that actually her aptitude tests showed criminal defense as a career for her.
Hmm.
And so I think it's just something, and she's considered becoming a justice of the peace. I think she'd be a great justice of the peace. So I think the legal gene, and I always joke with my accountants that I have an accounting gene. So I have a very good understanding, perhaps more advanced than a lot of practitioners do, because I'm very interested in the business side. And I think that comes from sort of that aptitude, right? Like the accounting gene, we joke about it. And I think my mom has that legal gene, even though she has no experience in the field at all. So when you talk about politics dividing people, like my family and I, we have differences in opinions. Those rise frequently. But what we all have in common is that we have very good critical thinking, I would say, and we're able to rationally sort through information and
Debate. Yeah. And
yeah,
debate.
debate. So it's very interesting because law is well suited to that. So I think my
Well,
mom.
that's all we do, right? Like
Yeah.
we're constantly debating. Although sometimes it gets into almost like fights in some cases when they're too intense, but that's what we do all the time. We are debating. That's true, Sam. Um, Alex, what do you want to say here about this point?
I don't think our family has ever felt more like unified, especially with the stories that Sam used to bring home, even from law school, like the experiences that she would just share and her studies and like her networking events. I would just like reflect on that and be like, this isn't going badly. This is working out really well for her. And also like it's become more palatable for our family because I think how well Sam is doing. Like of course uh the first generation firstborn female is gonna be a lawyer. Like you can't just ignore that. And it made like when Sam used to come home from university and law school and visit, like that was like the ideal time for to spend time with my family. Like those are the best memories I have because not only did like Sam kind of bring everyone together, but everyone came to Sam because it's like what interesting things does Sam have
Yeah.
to say now? I'm like, I want to listen. But that's also when a lot of our family stories would come out. A lot of like I didn't know our mom had a party side until like, Sam would come home and share like her stories from university. It's like, oh, so there's not only like an accountant gene or a lawyer gene, there's a party girl gene. So and that's shared around. So everyone would kind of come together for Sam and listen to Sam. And so that's also why I want to be in law, because it brings like the community together. So not only can we like have a strong female presence, but like we can continue building it. So it's been really interesting that way.
Well, that's what I really like about you two, and that's why I wanted to interview you together because it's a very nice and strong message for females in the profession because you're two sisters and you're doing super well. And it seems like there are lots of strong women in the family. Mom, your twin sister as well, Alex. So that's a very nice, like superwoman example to see. But as we know, it's not easy to make it in criminal law. Even though there are more women practicing in criminal right now, it's still not very easy. And it's not easy, especially when you don't have connections. As we know, there are a lot of people who have family members who are already in the field, and that helps. It doesn't mean that they rely 100% on those connections, but it does help. If your father is a judge, or if you know someone, you're connected to someone who's a judge or who's another lawyer, but I'm like you ladies, I don't have these connections and I don't have a sister in the field. So I know how hard it is to make it in this profession and to, have your own voice and to make your own name and reputation. So let's talk a little bit about that, especially for females in the profession. So Sam, we'll start with you and then Alex. I know you're doing this now, but for a new paralegal, you've been doing a lot. So let's start with Sam.
Yeah, thanks. This is a really interesting and topic that I'm very passionate about. So again, with my time as, regional women's director of the Criminal Lawyers Association and also involvement with Wicked, which I know Alex was involved with as well. So I'm really glad that, the paralegal voice, because the paralegals, they provide such an essential service for access to justice. And so I'm really glad that she was able, like me, to get involved with various organizations to establish her leadership early, which I definitely encouraged. But yeah, criminal law, not only is it not for everyone, but it's a very demanding area of practice. And I'm really glad that there are such strong women in it. And that's certainly our upbringing, right? Being brought up by a strong, empowered, independent
Yeah.
woman. And our grandma was the same, right? So we come from, it's sort of like a matriarchy, right? Like we come
The
from a strong,
matriarch.
yeah, the strong matriarchy, right? And, we used to joke when salespeople would call and, in the early 2000s and ask for the man of the house, my mother would say, there are no men here. Even the cat is a female.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think being surrounded by, and this is one of the reasons I encouraged Alex to go and spread her wings and work alongside with other strong women, because I think being surrounded by strong women is something that can help, but it is tough. Like we look at the rates of attendance in law school, and there is, I think, even a majority now of women attending law schools.
That's
But
right.
the exodus of women in criminal defense specifically is high. I think the Criminal Lawyers Association did that research study in 2016, and they're actually during my term, there were initiatives that were made and grant funding from the LSO actually to explore that and put it up to date and everything. So that should be. I know there was a initial study part of it published, but it's to come. So I'm excited to read the fruits of that research. But it's still an issue. So we've made a lot of progress, but it's still an issue. Many women, criminal defense, it has a reputation of being all consuming. And a lot of women who, I mean, I knew that I never wanted to have kids or get married, or any of those more sort of traditional, sort of family oriented paths. So my life doesn't demand a lot of balance because I made decisions very early on that are in line with my personality. Thankfully, I think it does help. But a lot of women who, they want to have families, like we lose a lot of, historically,
That's
we've
true.
lost,
That's when
we,
yeah.
we lose women to the Crown's office from the we need a thriving defense bar, but it's still very sort of male dominated in the field, and I do well with that. I like it. A lot of people seek me out, I think, specifically for my skill set. Being a woman, the types of defenses that I run and the clients that I represent, they many of them tell me that they're specifically looking for a female defense lawyer to defend them. So it's worked out in my case, but I think it is very difficult for a lot of women, particularly the demands over a long spanning career when they're looking at trying to balance certain factors. So I'm very mindful of that, and it's a big passion of mine, even though I don't have children, because we were raised by single mom, right? So strong single mom, but it's tough, and a lot of people are facing difficult realities. And so I'm very passionate about assisting women and supporting them in their careers.
And it's very obvious. I mean, like we can see that you're doing really well, Sam, and it's very nice to have that example of a very strong female criminal defense lawyer. And Alex, you're doing the same thing. I mean, I know that you were just recently licensed as a paralegal, but you've been doing a lot of really good work even before you became a licensed paralegal. So you tell us a little bit about your journey, about how you were able to make it, and people already know you uh, way before. Like it's you're not, someone that people are discovering now. We've known your excellent work for a while as well. So you tell us about your experience, about how you were able to make it here so far in the profession,
Well, it's very obvious that I wouldn't be here without Sam.
which
Definitely,
is very
having
nice.
an older
Yes.
sister
Yeah.
does help, and it's not something I'm trying to hide. I say it every time I see Sam at a conference or yesterday at the LSO or like when we meet up as family. Like I wouldn't be here without your help, and not just help, but like your example, because it's I find that sometimes women, although we all want to come together to build up our business savviness and get together and empower each other, it's like the classic thought of like, oh, someone has a resting bitch face, I'm not going to talk to her. Like that's just like our reality. It's like we don't really know what the other girl is thinking, and so we're
Mhm.
little bit more hesitant to reach out, or at least that's how I am. It's something I'm trying to overcome as well by just forcing myself to connect with people, and it always works out after. We don't have to smile on the first time that we meet, but we can slowly get to know each other. But that's the thing. It's like I wouldn't be here without Sam, but that's not because that's like the only thing behind my back. I have my natural curiosity. I want to know more about the law. One of the reasons I started out or wanted to know more about law was because I got in a fight with a friend in high school, and I'm like, I just don't agree with what you're saying, and I think it's really mis aligned with what we were like first bonded for as friends. And so that's when I started calling up lawyers about the Sullivan and Chan case. I like read articles about it. I then eventually asked Sam, I'm like, help me understand this because it's outside of my league. You're in law school, so you're the expert to me, at least to a high schooler at that time. But I don't understand this, and I think that my friend is wrong. And it's okay if we're both wrong. Just help me walk through, like, what's the law here? And so it started like in small doses as I've grown up, and now that I'm an adult and I can think for myself, I've done all my education in semi-legal topics. Now I can really dive into it and, of course, grow that passion and grow my career in the inspiration of Sam. So, yeah.
I can't picture you in a fight. You're honestly one of the nicest people that I know, Alex. So just to think that Alex is in a fight with someone is just so weird. But
Very rare.
what I find is so nice here is that you both have different personalities. I mean, it's not surprising that people, it's not just because you have different last names, but you really have different personalities. But what is nice is that you're both doing super well in the same area of law, which is criminal law. And I think the point here is that you can have different personalities. We don't all have to have the same kind of types. I think sometimes people have this misconception that a female criminal defense lawyer has to be like this tough, very, like aggressive, unapproachable female. And that's not true because talking to both of you, you're both very engaging, very nice in different ways. And I think that that's really very nice to see that we're bringing different personalities and different styles to the profession. Thanks, Alex, for doing that, for doing all these emojis, because it's really cute. But I mean, let's just talk a little bit more about that. We're all females here. And maybe about the personality of the criminal defense lawyer, the female criminal defense lawyer. Sam,
Yeah,
do you think that there should be a specific stereotype or a specific type for a female criminal defense lawyer, or anyone can do this if you have the passion for it?
anyone can do this if they have the passion for it. And women, we need more women in criminal
Mhm.
defense. So I'm always very encouraging of anyone. I'm a big proponent of go to law school, become a lawyer. And, it's so funny
I mean,
because
you did it with your sister, right? Yeah.
It
so,
worked.
well, and finally we have, so I'm a Western dropout, so you can see Alex is beautiful. She actually has her back, I'm not predicting the future here, but Alex's career is just beginning and it's really exciting because she does have a bachelor's. We could potentially have another lawyer in the family.
Yeah.
So, she is early in her career. So again, I'm excited to see everything that she's doing, but we do have very different personalities and that's,
Yeah.
I am very, I definitely have always done what I've wanted, right? No one could tame me. That's very true. And, when Alex was saying that she has sort of like she used to be more shy and everything, it's nice to see her coming out of her shell because you don't have to be this tough boss, badass, woman to excel in criminal law. We have a
Yeah.
lot of intellectual types, right? Everyone has their different skill sets. So certainly, like I have colleagues who are very, very intellectual, well read on the law. My skill set is really in like courtroom advocacy. I love being in court. And when it comes to like what is a female criminal defense lawyer supposed to look like, we come in all varieties of
That's right.
personalities. And
Yeah.
the first time that I met Marie Hennen, one of my legal idols, she's just such a friendly person, right? And so she describes herself as not being warm and
Yeah.
fuzzy, right? That's certainly the appearance that but she's always been very
That's
open
true.
and
That's
she's
very
such a
true.
great,
Yeah.
yeah, she's so she gives a lot to the community and so it's like you have these perceptions of people and it's also sort of like the brand, right? Like I told my mom, I was like, oh my God, mom, Alex is going to be working with Kelly Mercero and like Kelly Mercero is so like fierce and amazing. She's also another idol of mine. I was like,
Yeah.
she makes me look like a kitten, mom. And my mom was like, Sam, you are a kitten. And I was like, a lot of that's true. I was like, that's actually true.
Yeah.
But because my mom sees another side of me that the general public might not associate with my personality, right? So yeah, every people, you can be more introverted and excel really well in law. You don't have to have this like tough exterior, right? So and everyone has different facets to their personality as well. We all bring our own skill sets, so.
Yes, and so Alex, you tell us because you did mention that you felt like you were a bit more shy and more reserved, but now that's changing a bit with the practice and with the work that you're doing. So do you find that for people who are more on the shy side, I was very shy. Like I honestly, when I started, I was extremely shy. But I feel like in this field, you cannot stay. Like if you want to stay and you want to practice, you have to break that. So Alex, you tell us because you have a different personality and it's nice to see that we have different styles here.
Yeah, I agree with that. In criminal law, you have to be a people person. But then again, a people person doesn't have to be the extrovert, always bubbly, always talking. It can be the person who's very good at connecting, the introvert that understands and empathizes with their clients and others in order to better advocate for their case or for their sentencing or other topics, right? Although there's like no ideal picture of a paralegal either, so long as there's like access to justice. That's like mainly the only way I can describe a paralegal. And but specifically with like female paralegals is that I've been lucky enough to work with female paralegals who aren't in the support role. Like these are women that are entrepreneurs who own their own business and they go to court, which is super great to see. So although I've made a lot of connections in the paralegal world that are male that also own their own corporations, I've seen like almost equal amount of women in paralegal roles doing like the criminal driving cases, POA, landlord tenant board, general practice, like within the paralegal scope. And I've seen like almost 50% like equal in men and women, which is I don't see that like in the criminal law world. But then again, it's just because I haven't seen that much. I'm just starting out. And it definitely there is no perfect picture or ideal picture. And like Sam says that mom says you're a kitten. I only saw you as a lion growing up, and I still do, right? So it just depends on who's looking at the person, right? But yeah.
Well, so in addition to your personality, which is very important when you're a criminal defense lawyer, one other skill that I know we also share is the language skill. Like we all speak French here, on est francophone, on est bilingue.
Un peu, un
So
peu.
un peu, but you do speak French, right, Alex? A
Oui, j'ai
little.
étudié le français pour 8 ans. J'ai étudié dans l'école secondaire, mais I can't work in it.
But okay, but I know Sam is more bilingual, right? So, and how important is that? Because I find like languages are really crucial in criminal, especially because unfortunately, many of the people who are charged with criminal offenses come from ethnic backgrounds. So, whatever language that you can speak, so I know I speak Arabic as well, in addition to French and English, and you girls speak Hungarian, and I know you speak more than just English, Hungarian, some fluent in French. But how important is that for the practice of criminal? I think it's super important, but I
Oh,
want to hear
yeah.
from you.
Oh yeah, I'm like a francophile, right? So
Mhm.
I did all of my studies in French, high school, French school board. My corporation is bilingual, and so that was like another reason I said, obviously you got to go and spread your own wings because also in my practice everything is bilingual, so everything needs
Yeah,
to be fully, in both languages. So I don't have any staff, but that would be one consideration that I would need someone fully bilingual to. I can actually run trials in French. And
yeah.
I've been recruited
Same here.
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been in Ontario and certainly in the southwest of Ontario, that is a rarity. So in criminal law, I'm often being asked in various different jurisdictions, Windsor, Stratford, I've gone as far as Cornwall. The French minority linguistic situation is something that I'm very passionate about. I've written and published about linguistic rights, and Université de Moncton is internationally recognized for its passion about language rights. So we actually have professional responsibilities towards clients in terms of their language rights. And I've been, I was even recruited a very attractive crown opportunity in British Columbia where they've had a big increase in accused electing to have trials in French. And so they're really looking for more bilingual prosecutors. And certainly for me, I have French clients, and you've mentioned the ethnic piece. So I've had clients who are not citizens of Canada, and that is a barrier to them culturally, but also the language barrier. So when they meet me, they're finally so relieved that they've met a criminal lawyer that can understand and defend
In
their
their
in
own
their own
language,
language.
which is
Yes.
so important. I mean, I can't stress that enough because it's so frustrating for someone to be facing criminal charges where you could potentially go to jail, depending on the severity of the charges that you're facing, and you can't communicate directly with your own defense lawyer. That must be so hard for the clients who are in this situation, even if there is an interpreter. I honestly like sometimes because I do understand the interpreters, not all of them are good, even if they're qualified and they're certified, but the dialects can be different. So it's very frustrating from a client perspective not to be able to directly communicate with your lawyer in your own mother tongue. So language is so important. So just go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you here on that point, but it's super important.
Yeah, I agree. And even just, we both speak Hungarian. So Alex and I do speak Hungarian. And even that, obviously the proceedings in court can't be in Hungarian the same way that they would be in French, right? To
Right.
really like my clients, when they're electing their trial in French, that is a powerful moment in court that sends a message that language rights matter, right? And so, but even just on the Hungarian front, like I have had some Hungarian clients, and that's always interesting. But it's cultural, it's linguistic, and yeah, having your own defense lawyer not being able to directly understand you, that I think is a barrier, right? And so people do seek out members in their linguistic communities because that is a way that can help with advocacy and being understood. That's a fundamental. I think I've had clients come and find me to say I didn't realize that there was a lawyer in the area that could speak French, right? Because it does make a difference. It is very important.
That's right. I mean, not just for the French or English, the choice in court, but also for the communication, as we were saying, with the client. So, Alex, what about you? Have you had some experiences where, like you had to deal so far with matters in Hungarian or where you needed some basic French for some clients? What has been your experience with the language so far?
So I haven't seen a lot of French files at the current office I'm at, nor even at the paralegal office I worked at prior to that. But I still really connect with the um, knowing in language just to understand someone, because already if someone's charged with a criminal offense, they're already facing something they don't understand, and then they also can't be understood. Like that's really discouraging. They might not, like, potential clients and current clients might not want to fight it or really explore what their options are because they feel hopeless, right? Like trying to speak with someone in their own language really relieves them of like another burden or another barrier to try and get through this process. Like to find a lawyer is hard enough, especially with like to find a lawyer that like really represents a client's values, then plus someone that they can afford, that's already a hard part. But
Right.
finding someone that can really understand you, like not just interpreting, but like understand what you're saying word for word is important. So I haven't been able to really help anyone connect in language, but even like in supportive roles like legal admin, it's really nice to have someone who can speak French or speak Arabic or Spanish, because from the point of intake, like that's where the relationship starts with the client. And even if they don't end up retaining you, it just probably brings them more like source of hope that there are people out there who can, help you in that in their own language for sure.
That's true. I mean, language is really very important. And so it's very nice also to see that there are more and more female criminal defense lawyers who also speak other languages because it's really very important. But one thing that I want to get into this last area that I'm curious to hear about from you ladies. It's about the relationship between the males and females in the profession. So where are we right now? Like it's still, like pretty much male dominated. We can't say that there are more and more women in the profession, but it's still pretty much male dominated. But how is it working right now? What is your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I think I've been fortunate because again, I've had such strong mentorship and leadership around me from the outset. So I started my legal journey with Carolyn Conron, and I worked with her a long time before establishing my own firm. So she was a great leader and exposed me to a lot of strong women. And, I have fond memories, for instance, of when we had now Justice Harris Bentley, who was appointed in the time when I was still sort of coming on. I think I was still a student, or maybe articling, or a fresh lawyer when she was appointed, and her honor is retiring now, but or just recently retired. But just seeing like the strong women around, that was I've always had very positive experiences with my male colleagues. So I've had a very lucky journey that way, I think, because all of the men that I've been surrounded by have been extremely supportive of my success in law. So I have very early memories, even of, unfortunately, members who have passed since, but since now. But when I was in my first year of law school, they would say very encouraging things like, "Oh my gosh, this woman, she speaks three languages. She's like a firecracker. She could be governor general." Like, and Carolyn being like, "Well, guys, like, let's she's working with me, right?" But so I've been encouraged, but I have, as my role as women's director, that's where I became more aware of some of the
Hmm.
issues that our members are facing. So
Yeah.
again, my experience, I think as a leader, it's important to look at what the membership is facing. So that's why I was really excited, for instance, to see the creation of Wicked, right? And because I think that there are issues, and it's important for women to collaborate and to find solutions to those problems. So I know that various organizations are working on them, but my understanding from my leadership time is that there are a lot of issues of harassment, even when it comes to employment. So young women who enter into this very male-dominated field, they're experiencing issues, right? And also, even some issues in the courtroom potentially with, like, maybe some judges. Again, my experience has just been so positive, but I know from hearing from women in the practice that and the clients, right? So even you're dealing with I've taken young women, into the jails, and for me it's sort of like not it's like an afterthought. Like of course I'm going to be well treated in this institution. I'm their only shot out of here. Like
Yeah.
I'm not worried about these guys, right? Like I'm it. But I think it's not an environment that everyone would be used to, and yeah, so everyone has their different experiences, but I think there are issues, and I think we've come a long way, but there's lots of work yet to be done. And that's why it's important to have female spaces, right? To have women's conferences and groups that are specifically dedicated for women, right? So that's the creation of Wicked, because there have been issues like, men have a role to play, and I have lots of male colleagues who are extremely supportive of women, but like men referring business to women, for instance, right? Like that's like networking is an important part, but it's also issues that are specific to women. So lots of progress has been done, but lots yet to come. Is
Yeah, and there's still also, I find sometimes the issue of taking some women seriously when, for example, like it's not because you like to dress up or that you're fashionable that you're not as good as those who, like, you don't have to neglect yourself to be a good lawyer, Like, I think now that's a little bit changing right now that because we have different personalities and different backgrounds, that also it doesn't always have to be just a white female lawyer who's going to be better than a non-white female lawyer. So it's nice to see that we have this diversity entering the profession, but it's very important also for it to work and for clients to perceive that, and for the judiciary and the crowns as well to take us all seriously the same way based on what we do, not just on the way we look or how our names sound or where we're originally from. Alex, what is your perception so far? I know that you're relatively new, but still, like you've been mixing a lot, you've been going and attending several events. So what is your impression about this?
I've I'm lucky to say that I've only ever worked for women. I've
Mhm.
like in the legal world at least, like even my part-time jobs, I don't really count those towards my professional growth other than like the client service skills that I've built and like the grit and the hustle that I've
Yeah.
developed and continue to use every day. But I've in like my legal journey as always about women. I remember when I think this was your second term, Sam, with the MLA. And I remember you bringing home the magazine and it was like all women on the cover. And it was like, where are all the women or something like that? That was the article. I was like, yeah, where are all the women? And then I entered law and it's just all I see is women. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
perfect. I'm happy to be here. So I'm very privileged to say that I've only ever worked for a woman. Sam, Shalina Lalji, Deborah Matheson, Kelly Mercero, although she has Mr. Halbuni, her paralegal, and even he's very supportive of like women in law. And Samir Haymore, who's the articling student, like they're all like I don't really see them as like men I have to compete with. They're just all working with one team, of course, in like a strong woman-owned company, of course. But like I don't see a lot of what Sam has alluded to, but that doesn't mean I don't believe it's there. It's probably still there. I've just been very lucky that as the upcoming generation, I've seen that there are spaces where it's all about the women, but also like more for equality and like the classic, like two men with a microphone in a podcast. Now it's three women in a
Yeah.
virtual podcast, right? Like now I get to see how that develops and I get to interact with those systems and those like ideas that have now developed. So like the new generation might not see it, or at least personally for me, I don't see what Sam has described, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I've just gotten to benefit from that all these women from the generation before me has worked so hard to create these female spaces. And I just want to do more and continue doing that. That's why I go out to the networking events. That's why I talk to a lot of students. That's why I'm all about the women. And I've only ever worked for a woman, at least in legal. So I want to keep it that way because it's been really great to see those spaces and like I've never had like a bad experience with a man in law before. I hope I never do. But that's because a lot of the work that your generation has put into has really benefited the new and upcoming. So
Well, one thing I can say for sure is that both of you are giving a really very positive image about women in criminal defense. So that's why I was very happy to interview both of you together today because you're both doing super well and you're both, like really giving a lot of hope and optimism for anyone who's watching this. And yes, criminal law, as we said, can be difficult. But I mean, you can still succeed even if you don't have connections originally. I mean, we can all agree, like for all three of us, we didn't have any connection, any family member who was a criminal defense lawyer. And, you're able to make it when you have your passion. Like Sam, we heard a lot today about your passion about criminal law and how it inspired your sister to become a lawyer. So you're, like the let's say the bonus that you brought to the profession is that you brought us Alex, sorry, into the profession. So it's really very nice to see that. And I mean, I really am sure that this will inspire a lot of new lawyers or students, especially the female ones who will be watching this, to want to get into criminal law, not to be intimidated by that. Maybe what I will ask before we end the interview, if I can ask each one of you for some final tips or thoughts that you can give for lawyers in general, especially the new ones and the new female lawyers who want to become criminal defense lawyers, but who are hesitant a bit about that. Sam.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I love your platform and the messages that you help deliver. So I always tell young women, right? Go and get it. Like, don't be afraid to be loud and proud of your successes. I faced a lot of criticism and even bullying for always being very loud and proud about my achievements. I will never stifle the efforts that I've made. I've worked really hard to get to where I am. Haters gonna hate, but it's
Mhm.
also you have to be proud of the extremely good work that you do. Never downplay your achievements. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. I've been told a lot, you can't do this, or that's not possible, or that's not how it's done. No, and I've had men tell me that, right?
Yeah.
Prior to law. So it's like I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? I think Alex said it well. That's always how I've been. But don't be afraid to go and get it. And like it's just so cool now because I've always promoted myself, and that's how I built myself up over social media and everything. And now I'm not even on there, right? I just I've gotten to the point in my career now where I'm like busy making the
Yeah.
money and winning the cases and doing really well. So, but I used the social media platforms to build myself up for over a decade, and it's just really cool now to see like my sister doing the same thing, right? And so I'm very supportive of her and her journey. But yeah, don't be shy to shout your achievements. And the only thing better than shouting your own achievements is to shout the achievements of others. So now I'm more advanced in my career, and I'm very focused on how can I help other people achieve their dreams, and also just celebrating the success, including my little sister. So never hesitate to go and chase your dreams. People thought that that it was very ballsy of me to establish my own firm as early as I did. But why not? Like, if you have the skill
Yeah.
set and the success, why not? And those people now refer me lots of business. Like, it's been really a pleasure, and I'm
Yeah.
just so glad to see more women coming into the private practice, where you have skill sets that are traditionally viewed as male, right? Assertiveness, confidence, skills with money, making money, right? And so I'm just very excited about all of this, and thank you so much for having us.
Oh no, it's my pleasure, and I also can relate with that because I also started my own practice all by myself, and it's the same thing. And on that point, though, I do want to add that the idea of starting on your own is scarier than actually doing it. But once you start doing it, it's not as scary because you're just so busy, consumed doing it that you don't have time actually to think about how scary it is. So just do it. Like that Nike motto, like just do it, go and do it because thinking about it is scarier. But once you're in it, it works out. So, Alex, some final thoughts from you that you want to share?
The piece of advice I like to follow is that don't take advice from people that have never been in the rooms you want to be in.
Mhm.
So, not everyone is related to an awesome criminal defense lawyer, and I understand that. I'm very privileged, and maybe by nature I am just supposed to be. But even then, it's surround yourself with people go meet people that share your values, but also are in the spot that you want to be in. So don't take advice from the haters or don't listen to the haters, as Sam said, because they're not in the same rooms that you want to be in. They're not at the tables you want to sit at. Don't surround yourself with people just to feel like you're in a community if they're not fulfilling your like interests, if they're not helping you grow. And maybe not everyone is there to help, but even just observing people, what they say and how they treat others really could realign you to what table you actually want to sit at. If that means you have to sit at a table alone for a while, might just have to be that way. Starting your own practice, I can't really relate to, but I can sit at a table that I with Sam or with Kelly and help grow their business that way. So with paralegals, we're more like the support side. Of course, there are entrepreneurial women who like go to court and are paralegals that do it all. Of course, that's not where I'm really going to see myself. I'm going to stay more on the supporting side for a criminal law office, but it's really don't take advice from people that aren't in the place you want to be because they're not giving you the full picture advice. They're probably hating you on the inside.
Yeah, that's very true. I want to thank both of you. It was honestly so much fun to chat with you and to hear from both of you together in the same interview. So thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time to share your story. It's very nice. And I'm sure that this is going to inspire a lot of female criminal defense lawyers or students who want to get into criminal law. And just for people who want to get in touch with you, how can they find you? If you just can just tell people, Sam, how can people find you or reach out to you if they want to talk to you?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that because I was historically very active on LinkedIn, Facebook, social media. And I just, I made a decision in February that I put in my solid decade of promoting myself. So the best way to get in touch with me now is if you visit my website, my contact details are on there. So it's velexlaw.ca.
Thank you. And Alex, how can people reach you? You're still on social media, right?
Oh yes, I'm
Yes.
very active on LinkedIn, or I used to be. Now I'm like flooded with work, but I
Yeah.
like to browse and I check all my messages as well. So I just changed my name at the bottom to just read Alex Pummer. So that's the same name on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. People can connect with me there.
And honestly, whoever is watching this, I encourage you to get in touch with both Alex and Sam. They're very nice and they're very interesting and they know a lot. So don't hesitate to get in touch. And we were talking about how, especially Alex, at the end, you mentioned that it's important to surround yourself and to get connected with people who can help you and give you that same vibe and energy. These are two fabulous women. So I encourage everyone to connect with you. Don't blame me if you get a lot of people now talking to you, but it's really, I really hope that everyone will reach out and connect with both of you. Thank you so much,
Thanks
ladies.
for
And
having us.
no, and honestly, I'm happy to have you again soon. Let's have this on a regular basis so that we can keep up and see what's going on and catch
Yes,
up with each
it's fun
other.
to see. It's fun, so much fun to see all the progress. Thanks so much again for
Yes,
having us,
thank
Maya.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.